Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Talk number 550. Somerset Maugham, a well-known English author, was on a visit to Sri Bhagavan. He also went to see Major Chadwick in his room, and there he suddenly became unconscious. Major Chadwick requested Sri Bhagavan to see him. Sri Bhagavan went into the room, took a seat, and gazed on Mr. Maugham. He regained his senses and saluted Sri Bhagavan. They remained silent and sat facing each other for nearly an hour. The author attempted to ask questions, but did not speak. Major Chadwick encouraged him to speak. Sri Bhagavan said, "All finished. Hard talk is all talk. All talk must end." All talk must end in silence only. They smiled, and Sri Bhagavan left the room. What is silence? It is that in which there is no I or individual. It is that which transcends thought and speech. It is that in which there is nothing objective to communicate. Nor an individual to be a perceiver. All talk must end in silence only. How can the final truth be expressed? How can the self be known? No individual, no world, no mind, no idea. To express this all-transcendent truth, silence is best. Dialog 551. A man asked Sri Bhagavan, how is it that Atma Vidya is said to be the easiest? Sri Bhagavan replied, any other Vidya requires a knower, knowledge, and the object to be known, whereas this does not require any of them. It is the self. Can anything be so obvious as that? Hence it is the easiest. All that you need do is to inquire, who am I? A man's true name is mukti, liberation. Vidya means knowledge. In Atma Vidya, self-knowledge, the knowledge is existence. Existence is the knowledge. Existence is non-dual. To know anything else requires a knower, knowledge, and the object to be known. But such is not the case with self-knowledge. There is no individual knower in self-knowledge. There is no such thing separately as a knowledge. And there is nothing objective about the self. There is no known. Atma Vidya is the self. It has nothing to do with conceiving or perceiving anything. Existence, consciousness, is self-luminous and is the Atma Vidya, the self-knowledge. Can anything be so obvious as that? Being the self is knowing the self. Your own nature, your own existence is self-evident, so obvious. Nothing obscures it or hides it from view, except for imagination, which is unreal. Can anything be so obvious as that? The fact that you are. How could there be anything more obvious than this? Hence it is the easiest. It is undivided. It is ever existent. It is not a new attainment. All that you need do is to inquire, who am I? Inquire, who am I? And your own true nature answers the question. It is the answer. A man's true name is mukti, liberation. Liberation is natural and is what you are. It can be said to be your true name. Other names would be just false appearances. Mukti is formless and nameless. It is your nature. Inquire, who am I? Talk 552. There are some buildings in the ashramam that used to have some plan which somehow could not be followed in entirety. Therefore, A and the Sarvadhikari did not agree on many details, and there used to be trouble between them. A was once highly disgusted with the state of affairs. He asked Sri Bhagavan what could be done under the circumstances. Sri Bhagavan said, which of the buildings was according to a plan made by these people here? God has his own plans, and all these go on according to that. No one need worry as to what happens. With the ego, nothing goes right, and there's dispute everywhere. Without the ego, everything is right. To be without an ego is God's plan. Talk 553. The ashramites once asked Sri Bhagavan, how were we all in our previous births? Why do we not know our own past? Sri Bhagavan replied, God in his mercy has withheld this knowledge from people. If they knew that they were virtuous, they will grow proud. Contrariwise, they will be depressed. Both are bad. It is enough that one knows the self. Both are bad. Which? Being proud, being depressed. All of which feature the ego. It is enough that one knows the self. If you know the self, you know what is eternal. As for the self, it is not incarnate to begin with. So it does not reincarnate in the past or in the future. The idea that one is presently incarnate should be questioned and abandoned. Talk 554. Sri Bhagavan said, just as a river does not continue its flow after it's discharged into the ocean, so also a person loses all movements after he emerges in the self. The self is immovable. It does not go in and out of itself, nor does it go in and out of anything else. It is unmoving. As long as you misidentify with the embodied individual, you will seem to move. The mind moves. If such misidentification ceases, and your identity is merged with the self, the one self that alone exists eternally, why then you remain completely still. From where do you come? To where do you go? How is one to merge with the self? By knowledge of what the self is. your only self. Talk 555. Sri Bhagavan once recounted how Kavyakata Ganapati Muni asked him, "My own opinion is that a man can live on 3 rupees a month. What is Sri Bhagavan's opinion in the matter?" Sri Bhagavan replied, "A man can live happily only if he knows that he requires nothing wherewith to live." In order to exist, you require nothing else other than the existence. Ganapati Muni's question was not actually aimed at that, but Sri Bhagavan took the advantage of it to point out that you require nothing in order to exist. And abidance in the existence, that is, in the self as the self, with nothing else attached, is the shining forth of happiness. The happiness is innate. It need not be obtained anew. But it shines forth as soon as misidentification ceases. If you know the perfect fullness of your own being, then yours is a happiness that can never fade away. You are happy indeed. Talk 556. Major Chadwick asked Sri Bhagavan one night, "The world is said to become manifest after the mind becomes manifest. There is no mind when I sleep. Is the world not existent to others at that time? Does it not show that the world is the product of a universal mind? How then shall we say that the world is not material, but only dreamlike?" Sri Bhagavan replied, "The world does not tell you that it is of the individual mind or of the universal mind. It is only the individual mind that sees the world. When this mind disappears, the world also disappears. There was a man who saw in his dream his father, who had died 30 years earlier. Furthermore, he dreamt that he had 4 more brothers and that his father divided his property among them. A quarrel ensued. The brothers assaulted the man, and he woke up in a fright. Then he remembered that he was all alone. He had no brothers, and the father was dead long ago. His fright gave place to contentment. So you see, When we see ourself, there is no world, and when we lose sight of the self, we get ourselves bound in the world. The world does not tell you that it is of the individual mind or of the universal mind. What makes you think of the world as a world? The world does not declare its own existence. Rather, you think it is. It is only the individual mind that sees the world. When this mind disappears, the individual and his mind disappear, the world also disappears. Then he described the story of the dream person falling asleep and dreaming he's in a quarrel, etc. Then he remembered that he was all alone, he had no brothers, and the father was dead long ago. His fright gave place to contentment. Where you think of the mind as existing, when you think of the world as existing, there is discontent. The happiness mentioned earlier seems elusive. When you know the world is unreal, like a dream, and the mind that conceives it is also so, then you're quite at peace, full of joy. You are satisfied and content. When we see ourself, there is no world. And when we lose sight of the self, we get ourselves bound in the world. Thus, bondage is in truth unreal. Bondage depends on the concept of the world existing. The entire objective sphere of experience is what is called the world. It is to be known as unreal for the self to be realized. Implicit in the idea of an existing world are misidentifications as an individual with the body and so forth. One must stand free of misidentification to realize the self, and only if you realize the self are you happy. When we see ourselves, there is no world. There can be, therefore, no real bondage. When we lose sight of the self, we get ourselves bound in the world. The bondage is unreal and the world is unreal, and likewise the individual caught up in them. Dismiss all that as being unreal, not the self. And what are you? What is real? Dialog 557. A visitor asked, "We are advised to concentrate on the spot in the forehead between the eyebrows. Is it right?" Sri Bhagavan replied, "Everyone is aware, I am. Leaving aside that awareness, one goes about in search of God. What is the use of fixing one's attention between the eyebrows? It is mere folly to say that God is between the eyebrows." The aim of such advice is to help the mind to concentrate. It is one of the forcible methods to check the mind and prevent its dissipation. It is forcibly directed into one channel. It is a help to concentration. But the best means of realization is the inquiry, who am I? The present trouble is to the mind, and it must be removed by the mind only. The disciple asked, "Are there restrictions to be observed in food?" Sri Bhagavan replied, "Sattvic food taken in moderation." The disciple asked, "There are several asanas mentioned. Which of them is the best?" Sri Bhagavan replied, "Nididhyasana, one-pointedness of mind, is the best." Everyone is aware, I am. It is self-evident, and no one is without it. The existence and the knowledge is already there. I am. Leaving aside that awareness, leaving aside the knowledge of your own true self, one goes about in search of God. The intention is right, but the approach is poor. What is the use of fixing one's attention between the eyebrows? It is mere folly to say that God is between the eyebrows. God is infinite. He would not fit between the eyebrows. Concentrating on things physical and things subtle cannot compare with knowledge of the self. The aim of such advice, the advice to search for God in such a way, is to help the mind to concentrate. It is one of the forcible methods to check the mind and prevent its dissipation. It is forcibly directed into one channel. It is a help to concentration. So it does serve a purpose. But, he says, the best means of realization is the inquiry, who am I? Because the inquiry, who am I, does not include the duality and objectiveness that one is trying to transcend. The best means of realization is the inquiry, who am I? The present trouble is to the mind. What is the present trouble? Ignorance and its resulting suffering. Ignorance is believed in by the mind, which also conjures it up to begin with. The present trouble is to the mind, and it must be removed by the mind only. In inquiry, the mind dissolves in its source. Its real nature is known, and all that remains of the mind is Brahman. The next question was, are there restrictions to be observed in food? And Sri Bhagavan's reply is, sattva food, taken in moderation. The significance of that should be self-evident, doesn't require a comment. The next question was, there are several asanas mentioned, postures mentioned. Which of them is the best? Sri Bhagavan's reply, slightly humorous. Nididhyasana, one-pointedness of the mind, is the best. Which asana? The asana that it's one-pointed, unbroken meditation. It is not a physical asana. It is a transcendent one. Asana can also be said to mean seat. It is there where you should sit. That is, where you should abide. The particular chair or cushion is of no significance. Dialog 558. A visitor asked Sri Bhagavan, Sri Bhagavan, when I heard of you, a strong desire arose in me to see you. Why should it be so? Sri Bhagavan replied, the desire arose in the same way as the body arises to the self. The disciple asked, what is the purpose of life? Sri Bhagavan replied, to seek to know the significance of life is itself the result of good karma in past births. Those who do not seek such knowledge are simply wasting their lives. A strong desire arose in me to see you. Why should it be so? That was the question. Sri Bhagavan explained, the desire arose in the same way as the body arises to the self. Is the self a body? Is it in a body? Is the body in it? The desire arose in the same way as the body arises to the self. A desire arises. What is its basis? Who is to see what? But then again, knowing such was the purpose in seeing him. To seek to know the significance of life is itself the result of good karma in past births. Those who do not seek such knowledge are simply wasting their lives. Having come upon the good circumstances of knowing about self-knowledge or self-realization, and having the opportunity to pull it into practice and to realize such is wonderful. If coming to such a point one thinks or one does not seek such knowledge, you're simply wasting your time that is invaluable. Seeking self-knowledge is most important. It's the only way to know reality, the only way to be happy. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Shanti.